Hey YouTube, this is my third Japan update. It's gonna be called Gaijins. Yeah, and I want to discuss being with other Gaijins in Japan. One of the things that I've noticed is that I feel like people aren't as adventurous. Like, they don't want to go to places they're going to be the only foreigner there. And they don't understand the language entirely, they don't want to go by themselves. They want to go in a group, or they have to go with a Japanese friend, they're too scared to venture off on their own. I've noticed that in a lot of people. And I will say this, that most of the foreign students that come to Gaia are like white, and they come from countries that are mostly the majority. Majority of the people are from America. About 60% are from America. And the rest are like from countries throughout Europe. A lot of Finnish, Swedish, German, see some French, I think there's a Russian, but a couple of British people, but mostly Americans, but general mostly Europeans, mostly white population of international student population. And I think my personal opinion, is the reason why they don't want to venture out by themselves, because they're not used to being a minority, being the only one that really stands out. Coming from America, I'm black and minority in America, so I stand out. So me kind of coming to Japan isn't really too big of a difference. Maybe a little bit more because I'm more uncommon. Then again, you go to certain parts of America, there are no black people, and they'll look at you really, really funny. And they're in Kentucky, where I go to school at. Some towns will be 2-3 hours away from where I go to school at. It's like that, where there's no diversity, just all white, and they'll look at you funny, look at me funny because I'm black. But yeah, and I kind of wish, I'm kind of glad they came here so they can step out their comfort zone and experience new things, and kind of really learn what it feels like to be a minority, able to take that back to their own country, and how they perceive other minorities, and may help work for better race relations in their country, especially in America, because there are black people in Europe and Germany, France, UK, and I know based off people I've met in Europe, they say generally Europe is racist, but Britain is the least racist, and that black people really aren't represented in the media, and they really look to, like, how do I say, other African Americans in America, like, feel like we're really represented, and we're like kind of just have a very visible presence in American society, and there's a lot of issues we have in our country too, but black people in those countries really look to us as a model for how they should proceed. I'm actually proud to be part of that legacy, that people look to us in America, black people in America, as a model. That actually makes me proud. But that's like from back when I went to Europe a while ago. But anyway, back to my subject. Hopefully they'll kind of like logically learn how, to open up and not be afraid to take chances and go out by yourself, I guess I can go out by myself in general because I'm just by nature a loner. Like, I went to Europe 2 weeks by myself, I came to Japan like 3 weeks early, I was pretty much on my own. And a lot of me aren't afraid to take those risks. But I really hope that people, when they're coming to study abroad, they really are going to expand their horizons and they're willing to take chances and, do things and not be afraid to you'll stand out, you'll look different, or you may not understand, or you're in a different situation and you're by yourself, and so you just gotta take that chance. But yeah, I took out my twist. But anyway, and on to my next subject. Japan has a very high cost of living. It's very high. So you're from America, it's going to be more expensive than America. I'm going to put that right there. So if you're really cheap, don't bother coming to Japan. Just really, don't bother. Just stay in America. Like, you're just going to pretty much complain about the cost of things. It's like, shut up. It's just like this. That's the way it is here. So just kind of learn to adapt. People kind of criticize me for getting an Android phone. There aren't phone companies in Japan aren't very competitive, so I could only go with SoftBank. which I could get a prepaid phone that's basic, just texting. Well, they don't really text per se. Most phones have their own email address, so you just email most people, and then costs on that phone were like 90 yen a minute. There's no internet. Maybe there's like a camera on it, but other than that, it's a very basic phone. There's no internet. It has not like a 3 megapixel camera. Nothing really exciting, and that's about it. And then there was another phone that was offering a special deal because it came from Tokyo. It was from AU, by KDDI, AU. It's an Android phone, Motorola Photon. This was more expensive. This is about a little less than 6,000 yen a month. It's about 75 American dollars. And I pretty much get unlimited emailing. The Japanese send messages, typing text per se, and unlimited internet. I can tether it to my laptop. What else do I get? There's also I get apps, of course, and the reason why I went with this phone was the simple fact that it has a GPS. Most streets in Japan, places in Japan, don't have street names, with the exception of Kyoto and Hokkaido, apparently, because it's more newer than other parts of Japan. Those places here don't have street names, so it's very difficult to kind of find things, but they kind of developed their own little system of finding things. So the fact that I have a phone with GPS makes it really helpful to find places, because I could leave my house beforehand and type in my laptop and get directions, but it's still very hard to follow for me, because there are no street names. So it's like you got to go by the landmark and all these other kind of things, but it's just more difficult to find things in Japan. So I went with this phone. $75 a month, 41 yen a minute for calls, and like and the other phone by AU was like, you had to buy a calling card, so I buy them 3,000 or 5,000. And the card will only last 2 months. 3,000 yen or 5,000 yen only lasts 2 months. So, and the unlimited texting, emailing on the Japanese phone for a SoftBank was like 400 yen a month. So the card lasts 2 months. So you spend about 800 yen a month on calls, on text, on getting unlimited texting for the month, and then the rest give you like 30, 40 minutes for 2 months of talk. Yeah, most people in Japan don't talk on their cell phones because the minutes are expensive. But I know that landlines are comparatively very cheap. That's quite the opposite in America. Yeah, if you're going to come to Japan, I really suggest that you have an open mind. Be willing, to explore on your own. Don't be afraid to take that chance. And definitely don't be cheap, because you're really just going to not enjoy it, because everything's going to be expensive compared to your country, unless you're from like New York City. But yeah, it's just more expensive, so that's kind of stuff you got to accept. And definitely save up some cash if you can. And it depends on what kind of school you have at Concept Guided, your exchange with them. You might get a full exchange, you might have like a partial exchange or something like that, but my budget is kind of like at least 500 a month that I can spend each month in Japan. And that's kind of like on meals, entertainment, clothes, or whatever I need for my day-to-day stuff. And that kind of comes from, back home when I'm working, I generally make about 500 a month, so that's kind of what I set my budget at, But yeah, and people here, the Gaijins kind of get on my nerves, and I just kind of want to mostly associate with Japanese people, that I can practice my Japanese and learn the cultural norms. I'm learning so many cultural norms I didn't think were possible. It's like insane. Like, for example, like, me have my left hand in my lap while I eat dinner is considered rude, so I gotta keep both hands on the table when I eat. And I know last night, my host mother mentioned how, when I come out the shower, I'm not wearing a shirt. I just generally have the towel around my waist, and apparently my chest being exposed is like considered to be naked and kind of just rude and I guess impolite, and I should put a short on when I leave out the shower. And those are just one of the couple of things, and so many other things I can't think off offhand, but yeah, so anyway, make sure you come with an open mind, a curiosity to explore, bring plenty of cash, it's expensive, and that's all I have to say. Alright, well, Jamata. Straight, I thought it was going to be a rant, but turns out it wasn't a rant, just a talk. Alright, later.